Hi folks, Carlton from the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Well, I tried to start this video series last night, but I was having trouble with the SD card and the camera here, and after about 6 or 7 tries, I was frustrated, I was tired, it was late, and I just gave up. But I am going to kick off this series now. This will be Cooking with Carlton. I'm going to do some on-stove cooking, and I'm going to do some cooking over a campfire. I may split the campfire cooking out into a series over time. I'm probably going to go into how to use firewood, how to set it up, how to get a fire going, what different temperatures you can get in different places over the fire, how to do different meals, all sorts of stuff. I've done a lot of camping and cooking, including for a survival camp, an entire survival camp of, I was like 25 or 30 people. And I've really refined my skills at cooking over the fire. Now granted, it's been about a decade or more I think, might be 14 years now since I did that, but I think my skills are okay. But tonight I'm going to brush up a little bit. So let me just show you here. I'm in an undisclosed location. And I've got a fire pit here. And I just kind of been hanging out and having a fire from time to time, get some woods time in here and kind of settle back into New York and enjoy the summer. But tonight I'm going to set up and I'm going to cook up a giant steak that I have, which I'll pull out in a minute, and I'll get video of that when I do. But I just thought I'd show you the fire pit before I get it started up, and then maybe I'll show you as I light the fire that process briefly, and then I'll show you cooking the steak and that sort of stuff. I was going to bring some squash to do with this, but my rush to get out here while I still had daylight and time left in the evening to do this, I forgot to grab the squash. That's alright. This is just kind of a go out and play around and cook up a really big steak. We'll go from there. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, well, number one, you gotta have a fire, right? You get a fire going, you want some nice dry small tindery stuff, followed by some a little bit bigger stuff, followed by a little bit bigger stuff. And I like dry hardwoods, preferably cherry for cooking over. It's really my preference. I don't have any cherry close by at the moment, and I'm not real planned ahead on this. So we're working with some dry maple today, or relatively dry with some mycelium growing through it, but it's dry enough to do the job. This will give us our nice coal base for cooking that steak on over later. That helps us control the heat and the temperature that we're cooking on, because just wild flames, it's really easy to get carried away. So let's just get this fire up and going. And yes, I'm cheating with a lighter. But this ain't no bushcraft channel. And I know how to use a flint and striker if I need to. And maybe we'll go into that at some point. For now, we just want to get a fire going and get some coals cracking. Always takes a little bit to get started, but once you give it a chance to build a little bit of heat into that small fine stuff, and you can see some small coals kicking off. You get a little boost of oxygen and heat, and that'll kick us off. From there, it's all gravy, baby. Been about a minute or so, and you can see we're starting to crank up. I should mention, I chose a really hot day to do this. It was still 99 degrees at 6 p.m. It's now probably close to 7:30, and it's probably 95 or 4 degrees out. So it's a warm night to be lighting a fire, but it does help drive the skeeters off, and it is a beautiful evening in the woods. I am listening to the Zoom meeting for the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club in the background as I put these pieces together. About another minute and a half down the road, I've added this bigger log on top, and this smaller, this is probably ash or something like that, fairly dry, pretty darn dry actually, so that should help accelerate the heat. Alright, from here I'm just going to let this rock for a bit, and we'll catch up from there. You can already see the maple lighting up. Nice dry maple. Alright, we're probably another 5 or 10 minutes down the road. I got some more small sticks in there. We got a decent flame and heat core burning. We'll let that burn. That'll probably take a good hour with you know, other sticks sprinkled in around to keep the heat and the flame rolling before these come down and start to build any kind of a coal base. And then we'll be able to rake the coals over, drop a rack on it, drop the steak on that. Alright, about 5 minutes later with some more sticks loaded on. Yeah, we're starting to get rocking now. I brought along the old beeswax table here, so I have something to throw the steak and the pots and that sort of stuff on and off. Just easy working height. I know, it's cheating in the woods, but hey, you know, it's nice to cheat sometimes. So, alright, so I brought a few things in a box. A large pot, because I didn't have anything else, is better for grabbing all the extra steak into to take home. Clean inside. I got this squash and potato, mashed squash and potato with garlic, a little bit of cayenne, and some smoked paprika and some butter that I mashed last night. I had some of that last night. I saved some for tonight to go with the steak. Some butter, because butter makes everything better, to sweeten that up a little bit. And I got this steak a couple days ago, and last night I put it in this marinade. It's chopped rosemary on both sides, fresh, and then a little bit of All Seasons, God, I can think of the logo, but not the company, you know, salad dressing. Let's see, it's Italian, and I used olive oil and balsamic vinaigrette as the liquid basis for it. So it's been marinated in that for about 24 hours. That'll really bring it some nice flavor. It's a nice, thick, heavy steak. It's a huge steak. It's way more than I'll be able to eat. So I was thinking about it on the way over here. I may have some of the steak and then save maybe half of this, and maybe we'll make a stew over the fire with that later in the week as part of the series. Anyway, steak, and of course, cutting board, knife for cutting, and a fork, because that makes life easy. Alright, so real simple setup tonight. Just going to cook the steak over the fire, have some steak and potato, and then whatever. Ultimately, like I said, I'll do a series on cooking over fire, and I'd love to hear if you have interest in that or not. If you do have interest, please comment down below. And if you have specific interests, curiosities, or questions, please also comment those down below. Alright, now we're just waiting on fire. Fire is the longest part. A lot of people think you just go out and start a fire and start cooking. No, it takes a lot of time to get a fire set up correctly for cooking. So, we got it lit. Now we're playing the waiting game. The great thing about the waiting game with a fire is we're out here in the beautiful woods in upstate New York. Couldn't have a better picture scene. Alright, about an hour and a half later. About an hour and a half later, these logs were a little further, these maple chunks here were a little further down the log than the pieces that I used the last time, so they're a little wetter and they're burning down to coals a lot slower. But, you know, this is one of the points I want to make about cooking over fire. Sometimes it takes a long time to get to where you want to be. We do have a good coal base under there, so I'm going to let the rest of this pine stuff in here burn down, and we should have a decent coal base for cooking the steak. I'll throw the rack on, we'll cook the steak. Anyway, just thought I'd do a little sort of fire update. So we're just about there. We're going to let this flame burn down a little bit, and then we'll spread those coals out a little more even. And I just do this rack on here for now to kind of heat it and sterilize it, burn off any leaf debris or whatever that's on it. And then we'll drop a steak on it. I have other cooking racks. I will dig those out from previous fire pits and bring them over. They have a little bit narrower spacing. They're set up for cooking meats, and especially hamburgers and hot dogs, a little easier without losing them through the grill. But this is a nice big steak, so that won't be a problem on this one. Okay, here we are. You can see I pushed that one log back. We got a nice even bed of coals going here. it's super hot over that. So let's see now. I gotta manage the camera and the steak. We got some juice in here. I don't want to drip all over the place, so we'll come over here closer. Apologize for unsteady camera work. Ready. There we go. She's on. We'll sear her, flip her, sear the other side, and we'll let her cook for a bit. I will say one cool thing about being on a rack this high is you can actually get down under the steak and have a look at the bottom without even picking it up. Okay, it's probably been about 2 minutes. Had to do a battery change in the camera here in between, of course. And we got a nice sear on the one side. We'll hit the other side here for a couple of minutes. And I'll probably flip back for like another minute either side. I like my steaks medium well, so I definitely like to get a little bit of cook through. This is a nice thick steak. So while that cooks, a word about safety. You might wonder why I'm not putting the steak back in the marinade thing when I'm done. Because I certainly could let it cool on the cutting board and put it back in there. This is for one reason: cross-contamination. We don't want to take a raw steak out, cook it, and then put it back in with where the raw steak was marinated and potentially bring bacteria or whatever else in and make ourselves sick. So that is why the separate clean pan for cooked meat. I know most people already know this and it's common sense, but I've seen people miss this step and use, say, a fork that they didn't clean between using it on raw meat and cooked meat, a knife, same thing, a cutting board, same thing. So I just thought I would make a little note so nobody gets themselves sick. Let's have another flip on this guy here in a minute. Okay, that's the still. Still coming along. A nice slow cook, actually. I got the coals down fairly cool. It's oftentimes hard to get the coals cool enough or get the grate high enough away from the coals so that you don't just burn the crap out of it. You got to remember those coals are burning, if they're orange, they're probably 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 degrees in that range. Maybe as low as 800, but still, that's crazy hot. So you want a little bit of distance so you don't overcook. And I can always go back if I wanted to get a little hotter and kick, a couple of these bricks out under the grate, and that'll get us down closer to the heat source. But I like this a little bit slower cook. And one more flip. I think we're starting to get just about there. We'll pull it off and let it have a rest a minute, and then we'll give it the old slicer and see. Or maybe we'll take a little slit open in the middle here. But we'll wait another minute or two. It doesn't quite seem done yet. Alright, I think she's done. Then another few minutes. I'll slice this open and we'll see. Pretty much medium well. Might even be more like well. The moths are coming. I gotta do this quick and go to red light. Sorry, right? I'm not gonna slice it all up here because this table is horrible for slicing on. But I am gonna try it. It looks really good. Sure is. Alright. As I was saying, yes, it's very yummy. Yes, I did overcook it a little bit. It is a little bit more on the well side than medium well. But that's okay. It's good. Alright. Well, that's it for now. I'm going to pack it up and go home and get cleaned up and ready for work tomorrow. Alright. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network. So here we are back in the kitchen. And I did overcook that steak a good bit. The flavor is great. but it's a little tough. So I'm going to cut it up into little bits and pieces, and we'll make a stew with it. Probably, this is Wednesday, probably won't get to that till Friday night. But we'll take some of the potatoes and squash. I'll pick up some onion, and take some garlic and a few other things, and make a delicious stew with it. And we'll do that over the fire. Alright, that was a lot of cutting. That's a lot of meat, but it's all cubed up nice and small. We'll set that aside, and then we'll make a killer stew with it later in the week.